What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content. With your boy, Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So, if you've watched anything that's happened this year, you know that basically since game one, Coach McDaniel, what's up with your coaching status? And he has been neglecting to answer this question, I think, truthfully, the entire year. Every response to this question has been some version of, I don't want to get into that. It's not really about me. I'm just trying to do my job better. And here's the thing. I've done an episode on this weeks ago, maybe even months ago at this point, about what my issue with the sports media is that they ask you a question and they'll tell you they want is give us honesty, right? How do you feel in this moment? Your team just lost. How do you feel? But what they really want is just a soundbite that they can manipulate. So if you give them the we're on to Cincinnati, I'm just here so I don't get fined, hey, we got to just look at the film. Like, they hate those responses because they can't do anything with it. The beauty of Coach McDaniel is that he will give you an answer and give you nothing at the same time. And I think all year he knows, hey, I'm very much on the hot seat. So every time you lose a game, Coach, I feel about the hot seat. It doesn't make any sense for me to be like, I'm nervous about my job. That's a dumb thing to say. Here's what he said in the most recent time he was asked about his job security. He says, a game like this, I think we didn't see it coming. We're professionals who need to do our job better. You can't even go on to beating your opponent if you beat yourselves. When it happens, you absolutely, with 100% certainty, have to evaluate everything. No person or no player or no coach has their hands clean, starting with me. Honestly, that's as concise as I've seen Coach McDaniel be. Typically, you're getting a nothing burger. He's, sometimes you gotta when you're trying to figure it out, that's pretty much, hey, we failed, me especially, we all gotta be evaluated. I will say this feels hollow given that the team has literally changed nothing. Like, we have changed nothing. It's the same team. He said, hey, we got to start looking at the studs of this. We got to tear it down to the baseboards and maybe rebuild this house. And then he's like, so what'd you do? Nothing. Swept the floor. Maybe mopped. Like, we didn't do anything. So I don't think his sentiment is wrong. I do think what he said actually here is correct. It obviously, it of course starts with you. You're the head coach. And going into the year, people were saying, hey, not sure if this coach is really the right coach. So, of course, it goes with you. But he also didn't he didn't say anything about his own job status for real. He just said, yeah, we lost. We all failed. That starts with me. That's like answering a non-question. Well, how do you feel about your job security? And he's answered before some varying form of, it's selfish of me to think about my own job security, but you are a head coach. You are, I guess, positionally selfish. You are the head coach. So you can't be like, I'm the head coach, but don't look at me as like I'm at the top of the mountain. You are. Sorry. You are. So I think he either is feeling two things, and this is purely speculative. I don't have any sourcing on this. Either one, he knows that he's not going to get fired. Like, even after this year, like, if the owners told him, hey, you're my guy, I'll go down to the ship with you. Now, owners can say whatever they want and just pull it in the middle of the night. He's the owner. He can do whatever he wants. But if he's been given assurances that he's not going to get fired, I won't be worried about my job security either. If the owner looked at me face to face, he talked about their communication post games. It's not like this is an absentee owner. We talk. If we sit and talk after every game and you're like, hey, are you about to fire me? And it's like, nah, you good. I believe in you, dude. I'm down. I'm down with the cause. I know we got one win, but don't worry about it. Then when you ask me, how do you feel about your job security? Pretty good. Pretty good. Sorry, the owner told me I'm good. Like, y'all can hate me. You can tell me that I'm McGenius and whatever other insult. The guy who signs my checks told me, so I'm fine. The other side of it is, he's just lying and being delusional. He's just not trying to talk about the elephant in the room to try to keep the team spared. You determine which one you think feels better. Honestly, I think he might be in the first camp right now. I think he's been told, you're good to go, bro. Go take those L's. I mean, Dan Campbell was awful for Detroit at first, and then he was good, and now he's great. So sometimes it can dip and then you can turn it around. Who knows? So sometimes I like to break down like the mechanics of the game. We did a breakdown of why the run defense was so bad. Brian Bardinger, Behringer, I forgot his last name already. He basically breaks down film, and we did a breakdown of why our run defense was so bad, and it was about our run fits, meaning where people line up and where they should be attacking the offense. And we just had guys literally in the wrong position a bunch of times. It's like, you should be going to the A gap, you're in the B gap, the run goes in the A gap. It's like, what happened? You happened. You didn't do your job. Get over there. Defensive end. Oh my God, the ball went around me. How? You should have contained. Oh, I cut inside. Why? Try to get a sack. Oh, so you didn't do your job? That's what's been happening, right? With Tua, it's a whole different situation because a lot of what Tua's gifts revolve around are being really like immaculate at a very small things. It's quick processing, ball coming out quick, anticipatory throws, all that stuff, right? And because the middle of the field is the easiest way to throw it, that's where the ball's been going because when your arm's not super strong, you don't throw really far on the outside because a 10-yard pass to the opposite hash, it may be like a 35-yard pass. And if you can't loop that thing in there, then, it's a good chance. Like DBs, when you run out-breaking routes, are typically in a trail position, meaning they're behind the receiver. So if you throw the ball out to the sideline, if you see the receiver do the reach on the sideline 2 feet in, it's almost impossible unless you are just like all over the receiver to get to that pass. If the receiver's arms are basically out of bounds catching the ball, there's not really anything a DB can do. So a perfect throw will win out. Most times, even a good throw will win. A bad throw, though, where the receiver has to turn and try to catch a pass while he's running to the sideline, that's when the DB is behind you and they can step in front of it and get that pick six. So if you ever see sideline throws that are pick six, 8 out of 10 times, the ball was thrown behind the receiver a little bit. The DB stepped right into it and took it. The other 1 out of 10 times, the DB just straight muscled him. Like, he just got big. Then all the time, it's just like random stuff, right? So what's happened is that because Tua's accuracy is his big thing, it comes with some drawbacks, right? Because his accuracy is based on timing. But also, everything needs to be locked in. Tua doesn't move a lot in the pocket. If you watch him, like, if you're pressuring him, he will move around. But Tua doesn't want to be near chaos, and when the pocket breaks down, that's chaos. And Tua's not tall. So he's not going to stand in there and just kind of like, step a little step to the right, try to clear up a throwing lane. He's going to vacate. So that ball needs to come out quick and it needs to come out accurately. What's happening, though, is because the O-line is not doing their job in front of him, his balance, like his legs, aren't good. If you watch him on some of his throws, like his base is like either overly wide or his foot's not pointing where he's trying to throw the ball. And he does this on his deep throws. I've seen this many times. There have been a bunch of guys breaking down the throws because I always talk about his Alabama days because that's how we were introduced to him. But his mechanics were a little wilder, but still largely better on deeper throws. I don't remember balls in Alabama just hanging up in the air. And part of it is he usually, when he's throwing a deep ball, his front foot is facing like that direction, and then the throw is going in a different direction. So like he's almost throwing against his body. But he's not particularly tall, and he doesn't have a particularly big arm. So if you can throw the ball 60 yards with perfect like balance, you bounce into it and throw it, you got to start shaving down yardage the more you either, one, can't load up the throw. So like, oh, the pressure's coming. Oh, that guy's running deep. I got to try to like get the ball out, but I can't like get my body into it. That cuts yardage down. If my foot is facing the wrong way and I'm trying to make the throw, I can't get my hips behind me to throw it properly. That's taking it away. If I'm drifting back because pressure is coming, that's taking yards away. So what you see is he's trying to throw over the middle, but defenses figured out halfway through last year, you just got to back into the zone, right? But he's also getting pressured up front. So if he was standing flat and there was no one there, again, he can maybe make the throw, but when he backs up and tries to get velocity, what happens is the ball sails, which is why a lot of his picks are over the middle of the field high because he's trying to get juice on the ball while being in a poor position. Now, we've seen Mahomes literally parallel with the ground, throwing 30-yard dots. We've seen Josh Allen basically out of bounds making throws. We've seen Lamar holding a defensive end down making throws. This is why those guys are superheroes. For Tua, it's very Jared Goff esque, but Jared Goff is 6'4". So even though Jared Goff is not particularly mobile, he is at least tall, and he's much better protected than Tua. Make no mistake about it. But you can get to Jared. If you get to Jared, he'll fold. But typically, he can kind of stand in there at least and just be taller in the pocket. And he doesn't seem to, not be nervous about the traffic around him. Tua's concussions, smartly for his own health, make him very skittish when pressure gets. Jared Goff will stand there. He might get sacked. He might wait half a beat longer. But it's technique based. I don't think Tua's been a bad quarterback because he's a bad quarterback. I think it's been a perfect storm of bad events. I think the line has not been blocking. I think we run the ball inconsistently. I think we've gotten down a lot early. And so when you add those three things, plus off the field stuff, initially with Tyreek, then with Tua and his press conferences, all that comes in to play. Then it's psychology of I have to rise to the occasion. People were like, Tua, you're getting paid big money. Go play big ball. And now I'm like, all right, I got to play big. So now I started doing things a little bit out of character, out of scope, if you want to think of it that way. And now I'm pressing when I don't need to. And it snowballs. And this year's very much been a snowball. It's, Tua can turn his game around. I don't know if he can salvage, like, being the Dolphins quarterback long term. He can do better. Like, I'm sure Coach McDaniel's drawing up plays now to try to make it better for him. But, yeah, it's been tough to watch. And good news, sourcing says the Dolphins are not in the mood to trade Jalen Waddle, which can mean two things, as everything can. Either we haven't got the offer that we want, meaning like a first-round pick, or they legit don't want to trade Jalen Waddle. I don't think they want to trade Jalen. Again, when you draft somebody first round to be your wide receiver one, they didn't give him a contract extension, doesn't tell me you want to trade him. That tells me you want to build around this person. Jalen Waddle would have been a hot free agent. We could have traded him at any point during his career. Would have got good assets back for him. He's been very productive, minus last year. He's super fast. No off-the-field issues whatsoever. Y'all know I'm a Waddle fan. It doesn't make sense to me to trade Waddle because whatever injury history he has, they're minor. No ACL tears, no like broken clavicles or he's been, I kind of nicked up my shoulder a little bit. I rolled my ankle a little bit, but he hasn't been hurt in a way that's like Chris Olave has concussion issues. I get why they don't want to build around him. Garrett Wilson largely hasn't been as productive as his skills suggest, but he also has had terrible quarterback play. So if you were like, he got his money, but let's say they didn't want to pay him, they could just look at his stats and be like, is he worth $30+ million? Even though we think skill-wise he probably is. Jalen had the combination of both. He had good stats, good off the field, good on the field. It's a good formula. I still think I've heard people say this person's untradeable, and then they just kind of like give it a couple minutes. Like a better offer would come in. If a team is desperate enough for Jalen and they offer a 1, it depends on a 1. If it's like the Chiefs and the 1 is going to be like the 30th pick, then I was like, nah, I'll just keep Jalen. If it's a team like the Giants, who I think are going to win right around 5 games this year, a 5-win team is maybe a top 10 pick. So if you tell me, here's a top 10 pick, you can reset your wide receiver market, you don't have to pay $27 million for the next few years, and there may be a comparable talent with maybe a bigger body out there. That's a really hard thing to be like, nah, I'm cool. Let me stay with the 26-year-old wide receiver. Like that, I can see it going that way. I'm guessing they've gotten a bunch of third rounds like thrown in there, maybe a future second round pick kind of thing. So I don't believe they've gotten a Michael Parsons type offer. Remember Dallas was like, we're not going to trade Michael Parsons, and Green Bay was like, yes, you will. Here's 2 1s and a player, and Dallas was like, that's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good deal. And Mike is like, I'm not signing with y'all, so you might as well trade me. So we've seen teams say, no, this calendar year, not trading him. He's a foundational piece. And then when that pot got hot, you said 2 firsts? Oh, you know what, Michael? You don't want to be here. You want to go somewhere cold, don't you? Like, it can happen. If I had to guess, my guess would be that he will not be traded. But crazier things have happened. I have seen this fan theory going around on the socials, and I don't know how much validity put into it, I don't think it's completely baseless. The idea of why won't they fire anybody, why they keep things the status quo, is basically tank for Tua 2.0. There's just that some of y'all remember this, or maybe you weren't even a Dolphins fan at the time. Part of the issue with the Brian Flores eventual firing was he said that Stephen Ross told him for every game you lose, 100 stacks, 100, 100, 100, and his like man code coach stuff wouldn't let him do it. Remember, Dolphins started that year terribly, but then they went on a run to finish the year, which kept us from getting a higher pick. Now we still ended up in the top 10, but he was like, I'm not gonna let my team quit. I'm gonna keep winning. And Stephen Ross has come out and said, "Oh, we were just joking. Like I wasn't tanking for Tua," but it kind of felt like we were. And then when we had a chance to get Tua, we did. If you keep losing, and again, I can't expect to be worse than the Jets. I assume Tyrod Taylor is going to start this week. They got a lot of stuff going on. If the goal is to set your future up the best way possible, you want to give yourself the most options. Right now, we have the number 2 pick in the draft, which means that we're going to get, if the draft happened today, whatever player we want, basically. I've said many times that Arch Manning is not coming out and not worthy of number 1 overall pick. I don't care what his last name is. I've watched Lenoris, I've watched Cade, I've watched Garrett, I've watched, I don't know, Oregon's quarterback, Dante Moore. I've seen, listen, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are playing well. I don't know if any of those people are guaranteed, like can't miss number 1 pick prospects. I don't know that. I think a couple could work out. Like Ty Simpson has really surprised me in Alabama because he literally just sat and waited for 3 years to play. We just kept watching future pros go in front of him. Like, now y'all take your turn. I'll wait in the back. And now he's playing. He's balling out. And now the people are like, oh, is Simpson the best quarterback? I'm like, that's crazy to basically play 1 year of good ball, but it's happened before. I don't know if one player can do that. We have significant O and D line issues. You almost guarantee getting the best offensive lineman you can. And if you don't think one offensive lineman can change your future, we've seen Zach Martin. We've seen what Teron Armstead actually did help us a lot. But Penei Sewell. You see Penei Sewell 50 yards down the field blocking for a running back. And it's like, wow. Man, Detroit's O-line really turned around when they got that one guy. It's like, yeah, everybody gets better when you do that. We've seen the Trent Williams effect. Trent Williams in his heyday, I felt like was worth almost 10 points as offensive lineman. And I might be a little hyperbolic, but I don't think I really am. There's metrics on when he played and when he didn't play. They were a completely different team. We don't have we're not good in the trenches. I would never, if it's Myles Garrett's the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, fine. Because Myles Garrett to me is generational. We have some really good pass rushers in this draft. I don't know if we have any Myles Garrett types, but you want to give yourself the most options possible. If the idea is this team is kind of doomed to play, we're doomed to pay Tua no matter what, I'm going to keep McDaniel no matter what the year is, then it kind of makes sense to just kind of keep playing it out. We're going to find a couple wins on the schedule. There's a lot of losses on the schedule, presumably, but, I mean, we got Pitt and Buffalo and the Commanders, maybe without Jaden. Who knows? You know, he's been kind of banged up. Lamar, it may not come back. Who knows that game? Tampa with Baker, woof, that could be a tough one. The Patriots game that I was licking my chops for, I'm like, that could be a tough one too. Like, even if you think the Dolphins are the worst team in the league, you can still see 3 or 4 wins on the schedule. And 3 or 4 wins still get you top 3, maybe top 4 picks. I think Tennessee is actually a live team to get a couple wins late in the year. So I can see Tennessee finishing with a better record than us. The Jets are a disaster. They're, I think, staring directly at the number 1 pick. The Saints, Spencer Rattler has shown me something. I can see them stealing a win or 2. Because Spencer, I think, is playing well. So we're looking at top 4, top 5 pick. If you just let everything play out, you don't tank, you just don't actively work to improve. Because those are different. You put a quarterback in there you didn't think could play is one thing. If Tua's confidence is low, but we're paying you $50-something million, then get out there. Coach McDaniel, you know, no matter what I do, I'm good. Anthony Weaver, I don't know is guaranteed. I don't think he has a level of job security. But the theory is it's not random that they're not making moves, and it's not just pure passivity. It is a effectively process that the Dolphins have their own process. Hey, we need to get as high picks as we can get. This is why I believe we're going to trade both of our DNs at some point, because get some picks. Maybe we end up with the 5th pick in the draft. Let's just say 5th. First round pick, and then we end up getting a 3rd round for Jalen Phillips. Hey, we'll trade you our 1st and 3rd to move up 2 spots to get Dante Moore. Like, that's what the whole point of picks is, not always to just get players. It really is about maneuverability. And the more you have, the more you can do. And you got to identify what's our biggest needs. X, Y, and Z. Cool. Can we identify those guys in the draft? Go get them. Get them cheap. Start over. I know the guys on the team, those are professionals. They don't want to hear this kind of talk. I don't think it's like the most unreasonable thing. I don't think the Philadelphia process was actually that flawed. They just picked the wrong guys. Like, if Embiid and Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz all stay healthy and played up to their potential, they would have been a perennial championship type contender. You got the point guard that's a great defender, the center that's a great defender, the other guard that can get a bucket, okay defender, and then you just build shooters. Like, that makes sense to me. It just so happens that Joel Embiid will not play a full season. Ben Simmons won't shoot a layup, and then Markelle Fultz does what he does. I know I'm switching to basketball, but I watch a lot of sports. The bottom line is, I think the Dolphins may be working in the same thing. That, hey, this first draft, we got a bad draft grade, C- by most metrics. And it's playing out that most of these draft picks, as of now, not really panning out. So it wasn't that we didn't have a ton of picks this year. It's that we didn't do a lot with it. We may need to try it again. Let's get our 10, 12 picks, redraft. Hopefully this time we hit on some people, and then you can start rebuilding the team. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.